Last Sunday, we heard the story of Matthew's call to discipleship. It was very simple. Jesus said, "Follow me," and Matthew did just that. Now, suddenly, this week, we have jumped to the story of Jesus sending his disciples out to become apostles, to share the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Euangelion, the Greek word for good news, is also where we get the word for evangelist. As our gospel passage opens, we find Jesus going about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness. Jesus has been modeling for his disciples his way of love, a path that teaches, proclaims, and heals. When Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them. More literally, he found the situation gut-wrenching because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Remember, Matthew's gospel is being written for a largely Jewish audience. He sets up Jesus as the new Moses and is consistently providing scriptural evidence that Jesus is the Messiah that they have been waiting for. When Matthew mentions the crowds being like sheep without a shepherd, he's referring to a lack of leadership, both political and religious, to guide and save the people of Israel. Jesus is proclaiming a message of a new kingdom, a kingdom of heaven. And rather than spread this message alone, he deputizes 12 of his disciples to become evangelists of his mission to expand this kingdom of heaven. Jesus is ultimately sentenced to death for sedition. And here Matthew is making clear that that is a correct indictment. We have to put into context what Jesus is doing here, though. As you might recall from my sermon on Palm Sunday, right? As a test. Matthew's Jesus participates in creative, nonviolent civil disobedience, performing street theater with his triumphal march into Jerusalem as a direct upending of the Roman triumph that is marching on the other end of the city. He flips the script, literally turning tables in the temple to show that God's kingdom, God's reign, God's empire is nothing like the empire of Rome. The same is happening in this sending out of Jesus' disciples. When Rome conquered a city, evangelists would be sent ahead to let the citizens know the good news that Rome had conquered them and that they were now under the Pax Romana, the peace of Rome, which had been accomplished through violence. If the city accepted it, they received this peace. If the city rejected it, they were destroyed. Compare this to Jesus sending his evangelists out to proclaim the good news that the kingdom of heaven has come near. His method of conquering comes through compassion for the marginalized. This empire is grown through acts of healing, through curing the sick, raising the dead, cleansing the lepers, and casting out demons, as Jesus grants authority to his disciples to do. They are to take nothing with them, but rather rely on the hospitality of the people to whom they are spreading this good news. Their only armor is an armor of peace, which Jesus tasks them with extending upon the households who receive them. He tells his disciples, "If the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you." The peace of Christ is not like the peace of Rome. When you conquer with compassion rather than violence, there is no room for retribution or vengeance if that extension of peace is rejected. I was struck by this image of letting your peace return to you. Imagine the peace flowing, starting from the gut-wrenching feeling of compassion for another beloved creation of God. When that peace is welcomed, the flow reaches out and fills that person such that it can spill over to others when they encounter them. And as the peace spreads, that flow extends from the gut to the heart, breaking it open to help it expand and grow. When that offer of peace is rejected, our natural inclination might be reactive, a closing off, a shutting down, or a burst of anger. But Jesus gives us a different way. Let your peace return to you. Your peace. Imagine that flow hitting a wall from the one who rejects it and then coming back into your own body. Feel your chest relax. Your shoulders drop down. Your breathing slow down. Perhaps your nervous system regulates, letting out a yawn. Your peace returns to you. And from that grounded place, you can leave. Jesus' good news of the kingdom of heaven is not a conquering by force, but an offer of transformation. He conquers with compassion, through healing and feeding. And he offers a peace that goes beyond just being allowed to live if you accept the good news. His peace brings about a transformation of heart and mind, of consciousness, that allows us to see that the work of God is the healing of the world. And that is the work we are given to do as well. As members of a tradition with apostolic succession, we have been handed down this call to go out and proclaim the good news, an empire of love and compassion, of healing and feeding has come near. It is here, it is now, through us. This work is too much for any one person to do, but as the body of Christ in this world, we can spread the peace and love of Christ to all who have the capacity to receive it. And when someone cannot receive it, we let our peace return to us so that we can remain grounded in compassion and love. Eventually, centered in our peace, hearts will be conquered with healing compassion. And God's kingdom, God's reign, God's empire will be realized in this world. This is not easy work. Being centered in our peace requires practice. I know it does for me, because I have a tendency to react. So it's something we have to practice. And the beauty of our liturgy is that we have the opportunity each week to pass this peace to each other, to practice. But we may be so accustomed to it that we've lost sight of what that peace means and how transformative it is and can be. And so as we come to that point in our service this morning, I invite you to visualize your peace flowing out to your neighbors in these pews. Then imagine their peace flowing into you in return. Savor the feeling of that flow of peace. Practice breathing it into your body, and then breathe it out into the world. Remember, the peace of Christ is your peace. It is our peace, and we can bring that peace to the world. Because good news, God's life-giving empire of compassionate healing has come near.